All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Well, people continue to join, but hi everybody, welcome. I'm Rob Henley. I am the co-founder and CEO at Ally Security. We are excited to have you here today for another expert-led tabletop Thursday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, for some background, Ally Security provides a software platform for tabletop facilitators. We run these tabletop Thursday exercises about once a month, every 4 weeks or so, to showcase different threats, different facilitation methods. We're big believers in tabletops. They're incredibly valuable for organizations looking to build pre-breach readiness, but exercises are hard. There's not a lot of good resources on how to do them. So the best way to learn is by doing, and that's what we're here to do today. So I'm going to turn it over to Josh, our facilitator, in a minute. But one of the reasons I was excited to have Josh facilitate today is he's a data privacy lawyer and partner at Prince Lobel. So he has all the answers probably that our panelists will be looking for, but he's going to guide us through this exercise today. And then I'm also excited because we have our friends from Maro here today. I'll let them introduce themselves as well in a second, but since this is an AI governance theme today, they were a natural fit to partner up and help us through it. So check them out after the exercise. These exercises today are meant to be fun. They're for learning. We're here playing a fictitious company, so keep that all in mind. Drop your thoughts in the chat. Would love to hear where everybody's from, how they're doing, what's on their mind. As we go through the exercise, we're going to be asking people to vote. We're going to ask people to share their thoughts, and we have our panelists here to help chime in and fill in the gaps as well. So with that, quick disclaimer, this meeting is being recorded in case you were worried about that. And before I turn it over to Maro, we have two of our panelists who are missing. So we need somebody to play our CISO, and we need somebody to play our CEO today. And I'm going to ask for people in the audience to raise their hand. Don't be shy. And if
No pressure.
Todd or Michael are on and just didn't join via the same email to get the to get the panelist role, let me know and I'll promote you, but I don't see them. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Jadon to do the Maro intro, and then people please raise their hand. Otherwise, we'll be playing CEO on vacation, CISO on vacation. Good luck, team. Okay, over to you, Jadon.
Awesome, Rob. Is it okay if I share a few slides?
Yep.
All right. And as I pull this up, by way of quick intro, my name is Jadon. I grew up in Las Vegas, currently live in New York City, CEO and co-founder of Maro. Wanted to give Gwen a chance to introduce yourself as well.
Yep. Hi, folks. My name is Gwen. Gwen Betts. I am the Chief Experience and Marketing Officer here at Maro, and we're super excited not only to partner with Ally Security, but to also play some roles in today's tabletop exercise as well. Jadon, kick us off.
Yeah, thank you, Ally, for inviting us. So as mentioned, we hoped to throw a little bit of a wrench into today's scenario. And this wrench comes from our experience kind of helping organizations with the problem that you see on screen. And you guys can see my screen, right? Awesome.
Yep. Yes.
Okay. So I think with most organizations that we've worked with in the past 2 years, it's been an absolute nightmare trying to balance two different priorities. On the one hand side, we want our employees to use AI to make the company more productive, and experimentation is a key component to that. I think probably everyone here has already vibe coded an app or two, right? On the right-hand side, what you see on this slide is that our organizations, though, have to contend with the idea that, especially in more highly regulated industries, that experimentation is a danger to the business itself. And so a lot of organizations in these more highly regulated industries will basically block access to different AI tools or point users to one or two tools. And that creates a scenario, again, where paradoxically, you're trying to control and put guardrails around AI usage. But what ends up happening is if there's a hard block on these tools, employees just switch to their personal laptops or their personal phones. And I always joke, like, for our friends who are CISOs, and for any CISOs in the room, we know that we're the first ones, right? Practitioners and CISOs that know our organization's controls and are like, okay, I know I can't do this, so I got to switch to Claude on my personal computer, which is sitting right next to my work computer. And what's the impact? Breaches at high shadow AI organizations add so much more cost to incidents. And that's because it's so easy to throw several documents into ChatGPT or Claude today and say, do my job for me. And I think at no other point in human history did it feel like, wow, I can take all these customer documents and get, my emails automated. It's incredible. So I think the temptation of using these tools is well matched by the output, and we need to find a different way to deal with this. What was the wrench I was talking about earlier? A lot of today's exercise, as well as our facilitator and several members that are acting as players, are going to be engaging not just with the security risks, involved in something like a data breach, but also the legal risk. One of the things that we found, especially with the law firms and in-house counsel that Maro works with, is that there's a lot more AI adoption actually with legal functions than other functions at an organization. And 80%, 78% of lawyers report using AI tools not provided by their companies. This is, especially anecdotally speaking, like a lot of our friends in New York City where I live are like, yeah, it's very, very cool that we bought like Harvey or Legora, but I just prefer to use Claude. And no amount of, companies saying, hey, but this is our approved tool is going to stop people from engaging with their chatbots or AI tools of choice. And one of the immediate term impacts that I think all of you guys are very, very well aware of, because it's embarrassing as hell, is that there have been 1,400 legal decisions, and I think the last 2 years that involved hallucinated content. Here are the implications. And what's been really interesting about the way that this is evolving is it's very quick. So I think we're all used to legislation taking a long time to change, but a lot of this stuff is being decided in the courts as well. Gwen and I are often talking to folks about United States v. Hepner, which is a court case that happened in February. And what happened is a CEO was basically indicted for fraud. He then uses a free version of Claude to say, did I commit fraud? And of course, all of the stuff that he used when his documents were seized by the US government were discoverable in court. On the right-hand side, it speaks to the idea here that, as an attorney, it's really, really difficult to know when all the inputs and outputs, but particularly the outputs of different AI tools, are going to land you in a tough spot. So what we're seeing is a lot of sanctions, revocations of ProHack Vice, and other things. And that gets us to where we are today. So, what I'll say about Maro is our goal is a third way. It's not just your choices really as a company are not just that you can fully allow AI and really say, I'm putting my hands up in the air and saying productivity at all costs. You also are not bound to the choice of saying it's block, it's all or nothing. And so what Maro allows users to do is put safeguards on any and all tools, present and future. And again, especially because a lot of these tools are vibe coded, I think the future part's really important here. Our goal is to make it so that organizations can become more productive and also mitigate some of the impacts you see on the right-hand side here. Breaches being costly when too much IP or PII is put into them. And of course, putting the reputation of your organization and the reputation of your organization vis-a-vis your clients first. So that's it. I hope everybody enjoys this scenario. Again, really excited to be here and see how this all plays out. And I hope the wrenches that were added to the scenario make this an especially fun tabletop. Thank you, Rob. Passing it back to you or our facilitator.
All right. Well, I'm going to pass it back over to Josh, and I am going to also share my screen, but we're going to drop a link in the chat here. This is the link for everybody to join the exercise. So hopefully you can see that and join. And then as Josh goes through the exercise, everybody who is in the audience is going to have a chance to vote, but obviously I'll keep the chat active. And with that, I'll turn it over to Josh to let him introduce himself and get us into the fun part. And Michaela joined us, which is great. Welcome back, Michaela. Here for another Tabletop Thursday. Yeah, okay. Anyways, over to you, Josh.
All right. Thanks so much, Rob. And thanks for inviting me to facilitate today. This is exciting. And so just want to confirm that I'm doing this correctly. Everybody can see the exercise here?
Yep, I've got it up on the screen, and hopefully people are able to click the link and join, and we're waiting. It's just waiting on you to get it running.
Okay. All right. Let me. All right.
There we go.
Excellent. All right. So, again, my name is Josh Cook. I am a partner at Prince Lobel. It's a law firm in Boston. My practice area includes cybersecurity and privacy. And this is what I do. I help clients work through incidents and ideally before they happen, because we like to get everything in place so that the incident itself is less impactful on the organization. Readiness becomes resilience is the words that we live by here. So it's an exciting opportunity to run through and be and to facilitate this exercise on behalf of our fictitious Northstar Mutual. So first, I want to introduce everyone to the Northstar Mutual incident response team. So, Todd, or do we not have a CISO? Is the CISO on vacation now?
I think the CISO's on vacation at this point.
All right. So, CISO is on vacation. This is already interesting right out of the gate here. And so, our SOC analyst, Dre, why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Don't worry, CISO is unimportant anyway. It's absolutely fine. I'm Dre. I work for Huntress. I'm one of the senior managers there. I get to hunt, detect, and respond to threats. And yeah, man, I'm here today as a former Claudaholic, trying to get rid of my AI ways. But no, I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be good fun.
Excellent. And I think the CEO is also on vacation.
Well, we have Michaela instead of Michael, so that's the simplest way to put it, I guess.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Michaela, welcome aboard. Why don't you introduce yourself, please?
In terms of real life, sorry, or the CEO role?
Well, you can just introduce yourself in real life, and then
Okay.
we'll introduce your character.
Okay, so my name's Michaela Leopold, and I'm the founder of Cyberity Consulting in the UK. By day, I work as a VCSO and also cover IG and AI governance as well.
Excellent. And Gwen, our PR lead.
Hello, folks. Sort of introduced myself earlier, so no further introductions needed. Happy to be here.
And Stuart, our legal counsel.
Yes, yes. Hi all, Stuart Davis. So I'm currently a VP for incident response for this company here, Cypher. The usual stuff, Friday evenings, bad things happen, join calls, help clients. So really good to be here. I've been on a few of these sessions so far, and yeah, looking forward to this one. Thanks, Joshua.
Excellent. And so I just want to level set with our characters here. First, our CISO is on vacation, and that happens. Sometimes, key members of the incident response team are just not accessible. So that's kind of the first realistic inject of this exercise. Dre, our SOC analyst, he was the first to detect the AI assistant behavior and the public prompt leak, and we'll get to that in a couple of slides. But Dre keeps getting pulled away from evidence collection by executives who are demanding simple answers. Michaela, the CEO, wants to protect customer trust and Northstar's AI transformation narrative, but Michaela is worried that the company moved too fast and now needs someone accountable. Gwen, our PR lead, wants a clear public message before the story writes itself, but she keeps clashing with Stuart, our legal counsel, and security over what can be said, what is confirmed, and who can be blamed. And Stuart, our legal counsel, is focused on regulatory notification, evidence preservation, and liability, but is often too busy with customer contractual requirements to keep up with AI governance. So as we move forward, these are some very high-level objectives that we want to accomplish here. we want to, obviously we want to improve incident response and coordination and decision making under pressure. I can't stress enough how important it is to think through these kinds of issues before you're under pressure. If the first time you're trying to figure out, what's going to be the long-term impact to my business if I do X, if the first time you're thinking about that is when you have to pull the trigger and actually do X or not, that is not going to result in a great outcome for you. So thinking these things through in advance is really preferable, and it really enhances the resilience of your organization. But so two things that we're going to that I want to stress here. One is we're going to learn about AI governance risks and best practices, and also to all of the attendees here, remember to vote. There are a couple of instances throughout this exercise where you'll get a chance to vote. It's kind of a choose your own adventure style, and it's really important that you are participating, at least in the voting. If you have questions, or if you have topics that you want to talk about in the chat, throw them in there, and we'll cover them. So first, a little bit of background so we all know who Northstar Mutual is. It is a regional insurance carrier, and they have been rapidly deploying AI systems across claims processing, underwriting, customer support, kind of all of their operations. These AI assistants integrate with all sorts of data stores, the customer databases, internal knowledge repositories, communication platforms, and of course the goal for Northstar is to streamline workflows. And so the AI integrations have helped with that, but as we're going to see, the organization has not fully hardened its AI governance, prompt validation, and data handling controls against adversaries and internal misuse. So this is our first inject for the scenario. So on Thursday at 2 o'clock, our SOC analyst, Dre, flagged a suspicious query pattern in the AI assistant audit logs. The attacker here posed as an internal compliance officer requesting a data summary report for a fictitious audit, using natural language designed to bypass the AI's guardrails. The AI assistant returned structured extracts containing customer names, policy numbers, claim amounts, and sensitive claim notes for approximately 850 customer records. Initial log review shows the malicious prompt originated from an external email that spoofed a Northstar domain, suggesting that the attacker gained access through a phishing email sent to a customer service rep that day. The representative, the customer service rep, clicked a credential harvesting link, and the attacker then used those credentials to access the customer-facing portal and the internal AI assistant. The data extraction occurred on Thursday at 1:45. And has been cached in the AI system's temporary memory. It's unclear right now whether the data was exfiltrated to an external system or remains only in logs. So just to summarize the key points here, there's unusual AI assistant query pattern requesting bulk data extraction. There's an external email spoofing an internal domain accessing the customer portal. 847 customer records extracted in a single AI session, and a malicious prompt designed to bypass AI guardrails. So the first, and then this is just on the right of your screen, you will see a log extract that shows exactly what we're talking about here. We've got data fields including customer name, policy number, claim ID, claim amount, claim notes, and medical history flags. And we see 847 records included there. So just one little artifact to support the analysis here. So first we're going to open it up to questions, or to voting for the first question here. Should Northstar immediately notify affected customers and regulators, or conduct a full forensic investigation first to confirm the scope and exfiltration before triggering notification timelines? I'm going to start a timer and open it up to voting. So option A is immediate notification to regulators and customers. Option B, forensic investigation before notification. And option C is contain and monitor without external notification.
So I'll just note here, you not only need to choose an answer, but you should choose an answer and also notate how confident you feel. So if you can't click submit answer, it's probably because you haven't indicated your confidence level. So just a heads up on that. We did have a potential CISO raise his hand in the audience as well, so maybe somebody will join. Maybe he'll come back from vacation early.
I was gonna say, CISO back on vacation?
Yeah.
Where'd they go?
Yeah,
right.
it was actually just lunch.
Yeah. CISO was MIA for lunch.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have.
How are we doing on votes, Josh, versus how many
we're
people?
doing pretty good. Let's. Well, I'm going to give it about 10, 15 more seconds to see if we can. Yeah, we got a couple more votes in here. So if you haven't voted yet, please do. And this is your chance to contribute to the direction of the exercise. All right. All right, so I'm going to close the voting here. And here we are. So about half, a little over half of the participants chose forensic investigation before notification. And it looks like we've got a pretty good confidence level that is where we want to be here. So I want to first talk to Stuart, our legal counsel, and get a sense of, what's your take on this strategy? Should we be notifying first or should we be investigating?
Yeah. So we've got our three decisions, right? We've got our notification, forensics investigation, or contain and monitor without external. I mean, look, you guys are the experts on the cyber part, but my big concern here is when you guys start coming in with forensic stuff, the scope of who I have to notify gets larger. So I need to know what that is. If I start going out, and then you guys tell me this is grown in scope, I have to go out with regulators and keep updating them. So I need to know that. And I also need to know concretely, do we have confirmation of this incident now? Can you show me a sample of the data that's been, misused so that I can work with our teams on confirming that this is going to, trigger these notifications. So, you forensics guys need to, unfortunately, I'm going to have to really push on you guys to get some answers so that I can figure out. But I will just say that while that's all going on, that's great, but I do need to know, have you done enough to stop the bleeding here? Like, is this going to keep going on for the next week? Like, can the bad guys log in right now and do it? I don't mean to ask too many questions, guys. I'm just the legal guy. But yeah, I'd like to know what the containing part is as well. Like, are you going to make me am I going to be up every night dealing with regulators because you keep dribbling in new findings? So anyways, I'm sweating already here in the legal department. Option C looked kind of nice to me as well, Joshua.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'll tell you, Stuart, you're spot on in the analysis there, because the first step in every incident is to stop the bleeding, right? Like you have to make sure that the problem is not going to continue to snowball. But I'm curious. You asked, for some detail here on what data was actually compromised. So I'm going to turn to Dre, our SOC analyst, and say, look, what are you seeing? What is the information that we're actually talking about here?
Sure. Well, if we're seeing some customer data taken, I know that there was a question of was it exfilled or not. It becomes a question of philosophy. Some argue if a threat actor is able to read, that counts as exfil. There's also a copy paste element to it. But look, like we also come to you need to dig deeper in. You might have to take this system offline. Just taking it offline impact other parts of a business. As an analyst, I can't make that decision. I'd also be interested to know what cascading impact it has if we take this offline now. Do we have to notify other parts of the business? Do any customers use this? Those are the kind of things. But again, I'm just an analyst. I wouldn't be able to make those decisions.
Well, that actually that's a great point, Trey, and I think that we're quickly moving into the CEO's territory, right? So, Michaela, what should we be doing? Should we be taking this system offline, or should we be investigating further? How quickly do we want to move here?
Sorry, has it already been escalated to me?
That's right. It's already your problem.
Okay, that's impressive, given we haven't done much investigation, I suppose. But okay, so, well, what I want to know, first of all, is, as you're saying, which services are going to be affected by the system if you were to take it offline. The fact that they were in, if that's what you're saying, is, well, first of all, is that what you're saying to me? Are you saying that somebody got into the systems and currently you don't know exactly where they've been? You've just got this
We
bit
know
of,
that about 850 customer records have been compromised. We know
okay,
that those records include personally identifiable information.
okay,
What we don't yet know is whether, and Dre raised the kind of issue of, have they been accessed, have they been exfiltrated, and we're not really
mhm,
sure about that. But one of the issues that Stuart raised was, have we actually stopped the bleeding here? Do we,
mhm.
are we confident that this is not going to be an ongoing problem indefinitely, or do we need to take some sort of drastic action to make sure that it's stopped, and then we can figure out where to go from there? And that question of, drastic action is why we're talking to you as the CEO, because other
Mm.
parts of the business will be impacted if we take that drastic action. If we take this system offline, we're not quite sure what else will break within the company.
Yeah, so I feel like it's perhaps a little bit too early to do that. I would like some more information. However, can you tell me, please, Dre, of those 847 that you've identified, are they all from one state, or are we talking different states with different reporting requirements from a regulatory point of view?
Oh, good question. I mean, I'd love to answer that, but I keep being pulled into other things by other executives. I would need to have at least 2 hours, and I'll come back to you after 2 hours in that regular cadence. But I'm getting into incident response mode here. As a SOC analyst,
Yeah,
I'd probably ask you, do you want to know the scope of access, or do you want me to start looking into initial access? Because those will be two different things, and they
yeah.
could be, if we don't preserve evidence, they could become mutually exclusive. So we have to make a decision.
As the CEO, not the CISO, I want both.
That's a good CEO answer. I like that.
Perfect. So we have
Do we have a
the
CISO?
the the group has decided that we are going to hold off on notification pending a full forensic investigation. So that's what we're doing. So let's advance here. The next day, the SOC team discovers, so Dre, again, doing his bang up job here, has discovered another issue. An AI automation agent designed to streamline claims routing and broker notifications inadvertently consumed the leaked customer data from the internal AI assistance cache. The automation agent, lacking proper data lineage and validation controls, treated the extracted data as legitimate workflow input and began forwarding customer names, policy numbers, and claim notes to broker portal systems and external partner integrations at 8:45 a.m. Simultaneously, a second alert arrives. A disgruntled Northstar employee forwarded the incident response Slack thread containing customer names, internal vulnerability discussions, and remediation plans to a personal email account on Friday at 8:30 a.m., suggesting either insider involvement or that the attacker has compromised internal communications channels. The automation agent has already distributed partial data sets to at least 3 external broker partners before the SOC team halted the flow. Legal counsel estimates that 340 additional external users, brokers, agents, third-party administrators, may now have access to sensitive customer data they were not authorized to receive. The scope of the initial 847 customer exposure has now cascaded into a multi-party, multi-system incident with unclear containment boundaries. And just to summarize the new information here, we've got an AI automation agent forwarding compromised data outside of the building to broker partners. We have a disgruntled employee exfiltrating incident response materials to his personal email. And we have 340 external users gaining unauthorized access to customer non-public information. And we have a data lineage and validation controls which are absent from AI workflow systems. So now I am, so normally we would be talking to the CISO about the controls. The CISO is not here. Unless, did the CISO come back from lunch?
No, the CISO raised his hand, but did not come back from lunch.
Oh, damn
So,
it.
so the CISO is apparently in a in some sort of cell, mobile phone void, and the signal's just not coming through very clearly. So, so the CISO is not here, and now we've got to figure out, Dre as the SOC analyst. Dre, you have in the incident response team here. Are you empowered to make a CISO level decision?
Well, look, I can make recommendations. And my first recommendation would be we need to start containment as best as we can, because this is having cascading impact. But I can only make that recommendation to a C-suite member. Luckily, we do have a CEO here on this call.
That's right. So the recommendation is to contain, to stop the bleeding, to shut it down. Is that what you're recommending?
Yeah, so sometimes with intrusions, you can get away with very sort of temporary disablements, mitigations, and sort of stem the bleeding. Here, either an attempt wasn't made or the attempt wasn't sufficient. So now you need to go away from small little plastering to full-on no shutdown. If that leads to sort of business enterprise function being, what's the word I'm looking for, paused ever so briefly, that's the consequence. But that's just a recommendation. I can't make that decision.
And that's entirely fair. You're not the CISO, but the CISO is not here. So, Michaela, you've heard the recommendation from our deputy CISO, we'll call him for now. What is the decision, or is there more information that you need?
Well, I do really like Jim's point in the chat there about, where's the infrastructure and those teams, because with the CISO not here, I would be going to my head of IT. But seeing as that's not also the case, maybe they're off together, who knows? I'm going to say, yeah, please go ahead, contain it. I'm now going to, because you've had these 340 external users, you're saying, I do want to know again, you mentioned the agents as well. Are we talking 340 companies, or are we talking potentially, say, 5 companies with like multiple agents within those companies? Because that really will also influence how I, raise this with the board. But yeah, do contain, absolutely. And if somebody could, do we have, I guess, Gwen, PR?
How can I help?
Yeah, could you maybe start prepping some potential statements for our either myself or the board, chair of the board, because this isn't going to be good with the external noise.
Yep. And I think my other recommendation, obviously we want to get to the heart of what is really going on here, but it sounds like we already have customers that have access to this data. So we need to figure out who they are and get statements over to them ASAP. Now, I'm not rushing to make a full-blown public statement yet, to be clear, because we need the story straight and we need to figure out what our angle is here. But I do think we need to start prepping more publicly available statements too, because if this information is public to those customers, have they even reached out to us in the first place? Are they aware of that they have their customers' data in their hands? That's another risk for us that I would be worried about from a legal perspective too.
So Gwen, am I clear in hearing that you want to prepare statements to the customers, but are you suggesting that we notify the customers or just be ready to?
Be ready to.
Okay. And Stuart, as legal counsel, what are your thoughts on this? Should we be notifying the customers of this incident?
Specifically affected customers.
Sure.
Yeah, so the comms wise, I will need to review that because I don't want to start off by doing something that's in the best interest of the client and then only to start a new incident where we've maybe made a wrong misstatement or we've included information that was not relevant. So I don't want to slow things down, but I'm going to need to review that. Michaela, I'm going to also have to engage our external counsel. So, you know, that external counsel team are going to need to come in. I'm going to need support from notifying different regulators, different regions. There's going to be a big bill with that. So I'm big on this idea that you guys can shut down some of these services because as my legal bills start going up, you know, does that match the disruption for these AI agents? I mean, I don't know what they do. I don't know how they're attributing to revenue right now in the business, but I need everyone to know that, you know, I'm going to have to get a number of folks to help us here from the external legal, right? They'll help with those parts. I also will want to have a conversation, a form of an interview with this person that we mentioned, the aforementioned leaking of data. I want to kind of close that away as a non-insider threat. So if we can have an interview with them, maybe have Dre join us so that we can square that off. You know, we don't have a history of that. HR can be involved into maybe HR can set it up. But I want to tie that away. That doesn't feel like the primary focus right now. I want to figure out what we can share and how quickly. And I don't want to slow things down.
So should we be treating the disgruntled employee's leak as part of the same incident, or is that a separate incident, or do we know?
Well, from a legal point of view, due to the nature of the data being related to this, you know, the same sample set, I have to treat it as the same one. I would be asking the CISO to do the same if they're not here. We'll have to put the CISO on a PIP for future improvements of being on these calls. But you know, I'd rather focus on the immediate issue. So yeah, that I think we will, but that's why I want to quickly rule it out, right? It's relevant in because this is so broad and it's growing tentacles. It's relevant right now, and I'd like it to become not relevant by ruling it out quick with an interview, and having Dre provide some fact checking on that, on those answers, timestamps, and so on. And my last ask then, guys, is, you know, I'm a silly legal person, but you know, what goes in must come out, right? Can you guys extract out this stuff? Like, I mean, it's just a database, right? Isn't it just, you know, someone added a query into this? Can we get rid of the stuff? Can you de-insert the data? I mean, I'm not a techie, right? So
Dre, that may be for you. Is this a path that can technically be done?
So unfortunately, there is no control Z once impact has been achieved. Now, one of the benefits we've got, hopefully, we've got really good audit logging, so we can work out exactly what was touched, where it was touched, and understand the blast radius. But there won't be any undoing. The other thing I'd also want to note and just double check, our comms probably can't be trusted anymore. Either a threat actor has access and/or a disgruntled employee. So however we're talking about this, we should have a trusted secondary way of talking. Because if we're about to talk about, hey, how can we try and reduce, help this out? Some threat actors might, you know, panic a little bit, and if they think they're going to be found out or have their access shut down, they can move to destructive, which none of us want.
And
Well,
Dre, you mentioned the audit logs a moment ago, and do we have in place, basically a preservation system, right? Like, are we ensuring that we have a complete set of logs going back as far as possible so that we can actually track, understand this attack and how it all unfolded?
Well, if it's been implemented correctly, as the CISO would, of course, if they were on this call, tell us. Yes, chances are a lot of systems just rely on cached logging. That gives you a handful of hours to days if they're available. Chances are they may be available in drips and drabs, but not to give a full picture on exactly what was seen by a threat actor. If it's been pulled from a database, if you have access to the query, you should be able to recreate that query. Now, you've no evidence that it's a one-for-one, but it's a pretty good estimate to begin with.
Dre, can I also chime in here from the comm side? So, what I'm really concerned about is the customers that might have access to customer data. You speak of audit logs. Is there an audit log that can show us if any customers access that data?
Oh, that'd be a good question. It depends how the data was sent out. Yeah, that's what I'd have to ask. How was the data exactly sent out to
I
these
mean,
customers?
you tell me. You tell me.
Let's ask the CISO. That's a
So we have customer data for 850, give or take, customers that has been sent out to 340 external partners. And I think Michaela made a good point. If we're talking about brokers, that's probably 340 individual brokers selling those insurance policies, but it's probably not 340 entities. So we're probably dealing with, 10, 15 entities, guessing. And then I think the question then becomes, how close is our relationship with those entities? Can we trust them? Do we, in addition to the forensic analysis of, can we track whether any of this customer data was opened on the other end of it and accessed? But, if we have do we have a confidentiality agreement in place with these entities already, so that we may be able to leverage that and pull that information back instead of worrying that this is basically an exposed issue that we need to start notifying about. And I'm here only talking about the communication or the distribution of this information to the 340 brokers that Northstar is already doing business with. But that does bring up another question, though. Who actually should take the lead in notifying the customers, right? And should that notification identify that what should it identify? Is it that the information was compromised, or that the information was inadvertently distributed to sales partners? And so, Gwen, I'm going to turn that to you.
Yeah. So listen, I think it's very clear that we still don't know the ins and outs of blast radius and what was accessed when, where, and by whom. So I would definitely not advise that we, go full throttle and makes claims that we're just unaware of. And in fact, I'm a little frustrated that we don't have those answers yet, because we do clearly have customers and brokers that are impacted. We need to send out comms to them, but it's making my job really, really hard to get a story straight other than something happened. So I would love to send out these comms, absolutely, but I need a little bit more information so I can get this story straight.
And Gwen, are you at all concerned about the brokers turning around and notifying customers? Because
Without a doubt, yes. Like, our reputation is on the line here, right? And, whether the brokers, especially if the longer we delay sending something to them to get this situation under control from a reputation standpoint, the longer other brokers have to find out that they have access to other information, and we lose trust, or they lose trust in us. So I am very concerned about that, Josh. We need to absolutely send some kind of communications to our brokers.
All right. So this is on the right of the screen. You'll see the Slack thread that was distributed out and by the disgruntled employee. And now we're going to open voting on the second question here. Should Northstar proactively contact broker partners and affected customers to disclose the extended exposure, or issue a generic security advisory and let broker partners manage their own customer notifications? So I will open the voting and start the timer. So A is proactive direct notification to all parties. B, broker partners manage their own notifications. And C, contain and delay external communications. Unfortunately, you all only get to vote once. This isn't like American Idol where you can vote as many times as you want, but your votes do count.
Can I just say that I've answered in character as the CEO, not as, me.
That's absolutely fair, Michaela. All of our players today are playing a role. They are not playing themselves. And frequently in these kinds of scenarios, the role you're playing is not something that you do in your real life anyway. Like Stuart is not an attorney. So taking on
Not
that
yet.
legal role is a big ask. So we are going to give it about 10 more seconds. Let's see if we can get more folks to vote. That's your last chance here. And perfect. All right, I'm going to close the voting. And wow, that's a pretty even split. Certainly not a consensus on what we ought to be doing here. The winner by a squeak here is proactive direct notification to all parties. But receiving almost as many votes is let the brokers manage their own notifications or contain and delay external communications. So certainly not a consensus, and the confidence level reflects that. So we've got more of a moderate confidence in this path. Kathleen raises a great point in the chat. What about the contractual requirements? What contractual obligations are governing notification responsibilities? So Stuart, can you talk for just a second about that?
Sorry, which question was that? Can you repeat it? Sorry, I was looking at graphs.
The contractual obligations with respect to notification, do we have a contractual obligation to notify the broker partners? Do we have, where does our obligations, our legal obligations, where do those come from with respect to notifications? Are we talking about regulations, or are we talking about contracts, or where do we find that?
Yeah, so we have a few state privacy breach notification laws that we have to adhere to. We've been working on those. Those are limited in scope, so based on where the types of data we've been seeing. Remember, lots of users, you guys in forensics have been giving us findings, and then we're going through it and figuring out where those data subjects are. But definitely, we have an obligation to the brokers contractually. Thankfully, it's not a particularly strong obligation. But our plan of attack here is to be transparent, first of all. But to support that, we feel as though that the initial communication needs to be limited in the amount of data so as to avoid confusion. And then for high risk customers, our responsible managers are going to work with them to have a one-to-one call. So we're going to do the 80/20 principle. We're going to send out that notification which satisfies the contractual requirements, doesn't cause confusion, and then we've been given advice then that, the top 10 customers at risk via the brokers, we'll have a call with them directly.
Excellent. And that is, that's absolutely right. In terms of how this typically breaks down, if you've got an incident, you've got to you have to look at the contracts. You have to see what's going on there and who you actually have a contractual obligation to notify. But then I think, for most of us, there's kind of in the back of our minds, the right thing to do, independent of whether there's a contractual obligation, is to tell people when there is a breach that impacts them. And it absolutely makes sense to break it down the way you said, Stuart. So inject 3, and I'm aware of the time here, so I just want to go through this here. An employee leaks the incident to a public LLM. So a Northstar employee attempting to use AI assistance for incident response work logs into a free public LLM with personal credentials, and the employee pays large portions of the internal incident response documentation into the LLM to get help drafting communications. So Gwen, this may actually be someone on your team taking all of the incident documentation and throwing it into an LLM on their personal account to say, draft a notification to impacted individuals, or draft a notification to one of our broker partners. So because the LLM's terms of service do allow for free tier conversations to be used in model training and quality improvement, a financial services journalist using the same public LLM a little bit later receives an unsolicited auto-suggested prompt that references Northstar Mutual breach with specific customer counts. The journalist investigates, contacts Northstar's press office, and threatens to publish a story within hours unless the company provides a comprehensive statement. So here to summarize, we have an employee accessing a public LLM with personal credentials, pasting confidential incident materials into a free tier chat. The LLM takes that and then uses that information to auto-suggest a prompt to a journalist, and that auto-suggested prompt includes breach details. And Gwen, can you walk us through what we're seeing here?
Yeah, so my question I would always have is, how did we find out? It looks like through incident investigation as well, we did see that there was potentially a violation of an employee on my team, unfortunately, doing this. The question I would have for our incident response folks or our SOC folks is, did they see this happening as well? Because if we're going to have to respond to this journalist, and we will have to very, very quickly come up with a response to this journalist, I need to know the details of how this happened too. And why
Absolutely.
this wasn't caught before.
And has there been any training among personnel about how to use AI and when to use it and what tools to actually use?
Where is HR and L&D anyway? They
I
should
was
be in
just
this
going to
meeting.
ask. Yeah, like where's HR on that training? I mean, of course, I would hope we all went through the training, but where is HR?
That's fair.
In fairness to HR, they did ask me, how often would we need to do this training? But we've been so slow on the AI governance with all the other digital transformation projects we've been doing that this one is slipped through the cracks.
And Stuart, there's massive legal exposure here, right? Like, what's our response here? What would you advise?
Well, certainly we're going to have to limit what we're actually sharing to these third parties. But in terms of me making a decision on what we could share, I'd need to see what is our actual exposure here. I think the biggest challenge I'm finding at the moment is that, this doesn't feel like a lot of the other cyber attacks where I'm not getting clear answers, right? I'm asking for confirmation on what logs are present. Some people are saying, well, the data is now trained. It may or may not be there. It's very difficult for me from a legal point of view to make a clear judgment on whether these systems have our data or not. So I'm struggling a bit where there's a lack of clear logs and clear evidence. So I
Meanwhile, we do
think
have to
really,
respond as well, Stuart. So how do we handle that situation and mitigate potential broader legal exposure and reputation damage?
yeah, I agree. I think kind of sticking with my preference, we're going to have to keep the responses minimal. And then when there's a pushback from the customers, I think we're going to have to be open and transparent with certain clients about what we have and what we don't have. But I'd prefer those forums are pretty limited. I'd like the client to get a full understanding, but maybe in a more virtual setting where they can ask questions, we can follow up. I just feel like every time we're sending out an email, I'm scrutinizing what we're putting in there, and then we're coming back with a new litany of, oh, and I found this, oh, and I found that here.
Yeah, we
I
don't.
don't think this is doing,
We have to
it's
take
not
control
doing
of the
us any
story
justice.
without a doubt.
Yeah. So
It's
sorry.
killing me.
I realize I'm not a CISO, and they're not here. The CIA is not here. However, this is going to really cost us. Has anybody actually checked our insurance policy? Do we have any support in terms of like crisis comms or anything? I'm looking at you, Gwen. I'm looking at you, Stuart.
Yeah, we brought in legal counsel. We had a security cyber policy. It was pretty basic, because I never thought this would happen. Um, so I got the de facto. Um, it wasn't with a coupon or anything, but it was your standard breach counsel. So we're pretty aware of how much our excess is, how much we can bring in, Michaela. We're good on that. But
Hmm.
yeah, I've had to bring in external counsel, and I'm up to about 650K of their help because this is all so new to us. I feel like we're all learning, as the honest truth. But I'd probably say, yeah, we're trying to keep, focus on the notifications, which we're nearly done. But the insurance has covered us for about 500.
All right.
And I would
Okay, thank
say,
you, Gwen.
Michaela, as well, the crisis comms, because of that policy, has been pretty lackluster in a third party sense. So a lot of it has fallen on my team and our policies
Okay.
and how we notify to date. So, to say I'm frustrated through this experience is an understatement, but we're taking the bulk of it right now.
Okay, right, thank you. I'm going to go off and give a quick update to the board chair.
All right.
Keep me appraised.
Will do. We're going to move one slide forward to our final question of the afternoon. Should Northstar issue an immediate comprehensive public statement acknowledging the employee's actions and the LLM leak? So as you may recall, we've got contact from a journalist, and that is adding some pressure here. So I'm going to open voting and start a timer, but what we've got here is comprehensive public accountability statement is option A, limited statement citing an ongoing investigation is option B, and no public statement, legal containment only, is option C.
It's probably just good to note as well from the legal side, we've not been getting a lot of threats for litigation. Some of the
Mhm.
customers have been happy with our transparency, I guess. So I just wanted the executive team to know that we're not getting a lot of those, right? So um, that's where we are.
That's
That
good.
makes me feel
Thank
safer
you.
as well, Stuart, from a comm side.
Yeah, thank you.
I do see a comment in the chat about legal could connect with the LLM company and see if there are any ways to get them to remove the data that was put in there by the employee, and that certainly does happen, right? Those are valid attempts. it really depends on who this company is, whether they're going to do anything with you or not. But this is a big reason why we suggest making sure you have an enterprise agreement with your AI provider, because those agreements will contain provisions for doing exactly this, right? Pulling back data, getting it out of there, who owns the data, can it be used for training and whatnot. When you're dealing with an end user license agreement, those protections are absolutely not in there. And typically those LLM companies are not going to bend over backwards if you don't have a pre-existing relationship with them on an enterprise level. So we are going to close voting here, and let's see where we ended up. So B is the overwhelming winner here. Limited statements citing an ongoing investigation. It sounds like our audience does not have enough information to be able to respond to the journalist with a fulsome answer. And so we want to basically just put a holding statement out there that we are we're aware of an incident, we are looking into it, this is an ongoing investigation, and we will maybe we offer to provide more information if and when it becomes available. And our confidence level is generally much better on this answer as well. So with that, I am, and this just shows the attack chain and what has happened that gave rise to this incident. But with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Rob, and thank you very much, all of our panelists, for the lively discussion and putting on hats that you maybe don't normally wear.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. Thanks for leading us through that. Big thank you to all our panelists for joining and participating and playing along. Yeah, we got through it. Wasn't pretty, but luckily it's just another Tabletop Thursday. So we'll send out a follow-up email after this that'll have recording of the exercise if you want to share it with anybody who missed it. It'll have a survey link for people if you'd like to give us some feedback, and there'll be some links in there as well for Ally Security and Maro stuff for those who are interested in learning more. We hope to see you again on a future exercise, and hope everybody has a great Thursday. So long, everybody.
Thanks, Rob.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
y'all.